Palm Sunday marks the last stage of Jesus' journey from Galilee to Jerusalem. He walks with his disciples ultimately to the cross, and there the journey ends with his death and with the destruction of all the dreams of the disciples. We might find this pandemic that we're experiencing now in similar terms. We don't know where it's going to end. We do know that it has already caused many deaths, and it certainly has caused a lot of destruction of jobs and plans and families and economies. Jesus knew that he was on a journey to death, but he also knew that the Father loved him, and he knew that his Father would raise him up. It may seem strange to show a picture of Bill Gates in a Palm Sunday reflection, but maybe he has a vision that is relevant. In a recent interview, he was talking about how he sees the pandemic, and he said he sees a spiritual purpose in everything, good things as well as bad things. And then he offered these reflections. He said that maybe this pandemic should help us to look at things in a different way. It reminds us that we are all equal, regardless of our culture, our religion, our occupation, our finances. It reminds us that we're all connected, and something that affects one person has an effect on other people. It reminds us of how precious our health is and how we have neglected that with poisoning our atmosphere, eating difficult and dangerous foods. It reminds us of the shortness of life and what is most important for us to do, which is to help each other. It's a reminder of how materialistic our society has become, and how we have given an excessive value, thinking things are necessities when they're only luxuries. It reminds us how important our families and our home life is, and how much we have neglected that. It reminds us that our true work is not our job. That's just what we do. Our true work is to look after each other. It reminds us that we have to keep our egos in check. Here is a virus bringing the world to a standstill. It reminds us of the power of free will in our lives. We can cooperate, or we can be selfish in our response. It reminds us that we can be patient, or we can panic. It reminds us that this can either be an end or a new beginning. It reminds us that the earth is sick, that we haven't taken care of the earth. It reminds us that after every difficulty, there's always a peaceful time. Life is cyclical. This too will pass. And finally, he says, many people see this virus as a great disaster. And he said, I see it as a great corrector. Maybe that should be our point of view also as we enter this Holy Week. This time of Holy Week, this time of the pandemic, is a time for us to look into our hearts and our lives and to reevaluate things. We need to have hope that God will deliver us as God delivered Jesus. But we also need to look at our values and see what will guide us through the pandemic and through the rest of our lives. And if we can do that well, then we can use this time to find a way to the fullness of life with Jesus and with each other.